Well, the Browns off-season program is underway here at Cross Country Mortgage Campus in Berea. We are, of course, here. You can hear the trains in the background, just like the old days. We are back at it. Let's do some takeaways. We got to hear from Kevin Stefanski, Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, Greg Newsome, and Myles Garrett today. Mary Kay, what was your big takeaway?
Well, from Deshaun Watson, the thing about Deshaun is that he knows he's heading into this season to play the full 17 games. So there's not this air of uncertainty. He's not wondering how long he's going to be suspended or what he's going to be able to accomplish this year. He can go in and have these lofty goals for this season, and he has them. He's coming in saying, we are going to do magical things this year. He really believes he can take this team to great heights.
Yeah, Ashley, I mean, this time a year ago, we didn't even know if Deshaun was going to be the starter week one or when he was going to be the starter.
Yeah, there was just so much uncertainty at this point. And I know Mary Kay asked him, he does still have 2 pending civil suits, but he gave kind of the answer that we've heard a lot revolving his legal stuff, that he's going to let his legal team handle that and that he's focused on being able to move forward with a full offseason and not having a possible suspension hanging over him.
So, Ashley, what was your takeaway from today?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Greg Newsome because this was the first time we heard from him since that report started circulating on Twitter last week. I think it was. Time is not real at this point in the offseason. That he wanted to be traded. And Greg, of course, openly refuted that on Twitter very vehemently. He got up on the podium today, kind of did the exact same thing, said he loves being a part of Cleveland, that he reiterated something that he said in the past, that he wants to finish his career here, and that he's excited about Jim Schwartz's system. He said at times he felt like a linebacker in Joe Woods' system last year, and he doesn't think that's going to be a problem this year.
Yeah, Mary Kay, it sounded like he was open to playing in the slot, especially because playing in the slot this year might be a little different. Like Ashley said, he said it felt like being a linebacker. It might be a little different this year if Jim Schwartz asks him to do it.
I'm sure he had a really nice heart-to-heart talk with Jim Schwartz. I'm sure Jim Schwartz probably got him excited about what his role is going to be. Last year is in the past. He even mentioned that. He said that was last year's issue, that I didn't want to play in the slot. I also think that this year when they do play him in the slot, it might be different than it was before. And not only that, he'll be better at the role. It was brand new. He wanted to build on being an outside corner. I think they'll let him do some of that this year because what Jim Schwartz knows that is important to do is you got to get those leaders on your side, especially when you're implementing a new scheme, a new defense, and taking over. You've got to corral those leaders.
Now, probably, I guess, the newsiest part of the day was Amari Cooper telling us that he did have surgery on that core muscle injury. We weren't sure really until today if he had it. He had it a little bit after the season was over, Mary Kay, so hopefully that is behind him.
Yeah, I think it's so important that he did that. He was a little iffy about whether or not he wanted to do that. He doesn't really like to undergo surgery, and I don't know if he's ever had a surgery before this. So he really, was hoping to get away without it. But the fact that he had it, and he had a really good surgeon, Dr. William Myers in Philadelphia, do the procedure. He did Odell's, and it's an 8-week recovery. He's at 8 weeks right now. He'll be ready to go.
Yeah, and actually it's got to be good for him because obviously when Deshaun came back, that's pretty much when he suffered the injury. So he never really got that opportunity to play at full go with Deshaun Watson last year.
Yeah, and I think even now that they're ramping up the offseason, that it's good timing because he seemed to say, like, I'm not going to go out there full throttle, but they're not going to hold me back for much, at least with how his recovery has gone. And he talked about it sounds like maybe the only or one of the only guys who didn't get a chance to go down to Houston and work out with Deshaun over these last couple of months because he was in that very recent recovery stage. As you said, it's only 8 weeks out right now from surgery.
And one more thing, Myles Garrett is retiring from the Pro Bowl. He dislocated his toe doing the obstacle course, Mary Kay, and he is done with Pro Bowl obstacle courses.
Yeah, that's for sure. He said, that's it, no more of that. He said, actually, the dislocated toe from that, which he was so bummed out about, has bothered him and nagged him more this offseason than the shoulder injury he got from flipping his Porsche multiple times. So, nevertheless, he feels both injuries will be fine and that he'll be 100% for training camp.
Yeah, and Ashley, it just feels like Myles needs to just have a year where nothing happens, where it's just clean, smooth sailing, and he gets to play in Jim Schwartz's defense and get a bunch of sacks.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. It just seems like every year there is something that derails his season or limits his production, and I was kind of surprised to hear that the toe injury is what's impacted him. I thought that it would be more of getting the shoulder back and things like that, but it's interesting to hear that it's nagging. He said he thinks it'll be 100% by the time the season's around, though.
All right, well, we'll have full coverage of everything here as the Browns kick off their offseason program. It'll all be at cleveland.com/Browns.